All right. So, just a couple quick things. One, our discussion question and the summary response essay are due today as of 6 minutes ago. So if you needed, if you need to get those uploaded, upload those ASAP. All right. Also, when you're working on an assignment, I was able to confer with a few people. Even more than that, I was able to confer via email. And I'm all about offering additional help or additional guidance when needed. But try not to wait until the final moment to to ask for help. Because if you wait to the last minute, that kind of limits, the options we have as far as, the help I can extend to you. So there's a few people, I had like a separate Zoom with them. And again, like I said, I conferenced with a few people by email and just fielded questions that way. And I'm definitely 100% okay with that. But again, just don't wait until the last minute to let it be known that you need help or that you didn't understand the nature of the assignment. So again, always feel free to ask for help, but again, just don't wait to the last minute because there really isn't much. Well, there's things I can do, but it's just if you're more proactive, then we have more options. Also, and this goes for me as well as your other instructors. Sometimes when you wait to the last minute, your instructors are like so slammed with work that you know we don't we don't have the time that we had in the earlier parts of the week. So take that in consideration as well. But with that being said, if you ever need help with something, just let it be known, and I'll be happy to do so. All right. And that my next point, make sure you're checking D2L. Even if we don't meet, even if you're treating the Zoom meetings as like they're optional, which is fine. But again, even if you aren't attending the Zoom meetings, make sure you're staying current with D2L because especially now since we're remote, but even when we're back to face, that's most of your teachers mode of communication or mode of updating the class. It's easier for me to update D2L than send out like individual emails. So just make sure you're checking your email. If you're on the go a lot, um, I'm probably saying this wrong, but the app it's called Brightspace Pulse. I will put this in an update on D2L, but it's Brightspace Pulse. It just lets you get D2L right on your phone. You can still go right through the browser, but if you just want to make it even more streamlined, the app, would be in your best interest. But to be totally honest, I have the app, but for me, maybe because I'm older, but for me, it's just easier to go through the browser instead of the app. But the app does have its uses. All right. So that's that. Stay current with D2L, right? Let your questions be known. Okay. No shame in asking questions. Man. All right. I think we don't ask enough questions sometimes. Okay. Now, okay. Let's do something slightly different. I'm about to share my screen. All right. If you are not logged into D2L, get yourself logged in, or you can follow along with me. That's fine. But right now, I am about to go into the writing process module. All right. Hopefully, my computer is okay. And I just want us to watch just a 3 minute clip. We're going to talk a little bit about writing today. So I typically like to begin with this video. Okay, hopefully I'm sharing the right thing. The importance of writing badly, right? Seems kind of counter to what we normally think of, when we think of writing, essays and such. But the importance of writing badly, okay? This is something that I try to push on to my students as well. Just kind of giving yourself that freedom, all right? So let's check it out.
The importance of writing badly.
Uh-oh.
Out of all the topics I could have possibly chosen, why would I say it's important to write badly?
I don't know.
So here's the thing about writers. We all like to do well. We want our stuff to be good. We want it to be great. We want it to be like a polished, sparkling gem. But what if I was a miner of emeralds and I said the only emeralds that I am interested in mining are the ones that are going to come right out of the ground, beautifully cut and polished? What's the most important thing that you bring to your writing? Yourself. And in order to really give everything you have to your writing, you need to do some digging. You're going to be digging into yourself and bringing what you find up. When you bring it up, is it going to be all cut and polished and fantastico? No, it's going to be, if you're anything like me, it's going to be a sloppy, abominable mess. And that's as it should be. In the process of writing, there's going to be the dirt, there's going to be the part of the emerald that gets cut away. Good writing is rewriting, right? And rewriting is revisioning, redoing, rethinking, reworking. And in order to get into the space to do that, you want to give yourself unlimited room. You do not have unlimited room if you insist that every word you write has to be good. It just doesn't work. So if you give yourself permission to write badly, then what you do is you give your mind permission to run free. I brought my recycling bin from home, and we're going to just take 5 minutes and write really badly. And when we're done writing, just rip it up, throw it away. So just write anything at all.
All right. Where am I? Okay. Now, either in the chat or you can just shout it out. What do you guys think of that? Does it seem a bit strange to be encouraged to write badly in an English class?
I don't think it is. I mean, because they threw it away.
Okay. I don't throw you guys' work away, just for the record. All right. But what do you think this speaker was communicating by, encouraging people to?
I think it's probably not something that as a writer you would think about, that you can just throw away your work, but I think that the concept she was trying to impart, that the idea is to improve. Your first draft is not going to be perfect.
Absolutely.
So, and then by allowing yourself the freedom to run with whatever ideas run through your mind pertaining to the topic that you're writing, you then are giving yourself the freedom to then come up with whatever brilliant idea might cross your mind that you might not think of if you're trying to be perfect the first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's kind of a trap that I tell students to avoid, where, just like Elizabeth was saying, trying to make that first draft into a perfect draft, which, in our reality, it's not. And to be 100% honest, your final draft probably isn't going to be perfect. There's always something that can be improved when it comes to writing. It's just that we have deadlines. So, that's when we call something done, like when we have to submit it, or when it's time for publication. But if we look back, things can always be revised. But Liz was right, just kind of giving yourself that freedom to explore ideas, to know that, what, this draft doesn't really sound right, it's not coming together, but I'm just getting my ideas out, and I know that I can go back and revise this piece of writing. And if you've had me as an instructor before, and just like I explained, like, I'm very open to answering most questions that students have, but one question that I try to avoid is when students will ask me, they'll write a paragraph and say, "Hey, Norwood, how does this sound so far?" And my response is always, "Keep going." Okay, keep going, and I will look at it when it's done. But I don't want to interfere, with that process of you getting your ideas out on paper. So if you send me something and say, "How does this sound so far?" My reply is probably going to be, "Keep writing." And what I'm really saying is, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Worst thing that can happen is you're wrong, right? And who in here can say that they haven't been wrong before, right? Being wrong is just, a chance for learning. All right. So that's really why I start with this, just to get you all as students to take that pressure off of yourself for trying to make every draft into the perfect draft, when in reality, it's going to take, maybe a few drafts before you get something that you're satisfied with. But I think sometimes we impede our own process by, thinking that, and you can just answer this silently, but does this sound like anyone? You're typing, you write a few lines, you read it back to yourself. "Oh, I don't like how that sounds." You delete the whole thing and then start from scratch. Type a few lines again. You know what? I didn't like that. Delete the whole thing. So there's like this cycle of stop and starts, that we get to, and that can be really anxiety inducing. So I think it's in our best interest as writers to, when we start a piece of writing, shut that part of your brain down, that inner critic, right? That part that tells you need to go back and fix, or you need to go back and revise, or you need to say this differently or that differently, because you can always go back and do that. But it is just very important in these early stages for you to get your ideas out. All right. And there's more material, of that nature in our writing process module, but I want to change gears for a second now and
Also, Mr. Norwood, um, one of the other things that I always learned when I was in high school, is that when you're writing a paper, and it's like not due until like maybe like later in the week, and you got done with it like a little early. One of the things that I learned was always put the paper off to the side for like 24 hours, and then read it again the next day, and then you'll find a lot of mistakes when you're reading it the next day, because if you're reading it over and over again the same day, you're constantly just not going to find no mistakes. You're just going to leave it how it is. But if you read it the next day, you're going to see a lot more mistakes.
Man, that is so true. And it's giving yourself that space and then coming back and looking at your paper with fresh eyes. That makes a world of difference. And here's the truth, my good people. Okay, you submit an assignment in my class, it has a couple typos, the final draft has a couple typos in it. I'll probably just draw attention to them and say, "Hey, work on proofreading." But you all eventually will have to write things that can contain no mistakes. Meaning, if you're going to a 4-year school, when you leave OCC, you're probably going to have to write some sort of transfer essay. And admissions offices, they look at those things. You got a typo in there, you just made their job easier, because now there's one less that they have to look at. And it's the same thing. Definitely cover letter, resume have to be flawless. Can make no mistakes in those, because if your potential employer, sees that, it affects your credibility. All right. And then at the end of the day, like with admissions officers, that's just one less thing they have to look at. So give yourself that time. Okay. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about waiting to the last minute. If you wait to the last minute, you might be in panic mode. And then when that deadline hits, it's like, okay, whatever I have is whatever I have to, whatever I'm is what I have to submit. But, you know, if you give yourself time, you can go back and look at it with fresh eyes. And Matt, to go even further, you know, if you have, you know, someone you trust with things like that in your life, have a second pair of eyes look at your paper. In face-to-face settings, we do peer review, but we're not going to do that since we're remote. But it's always good to have someone else looking at your paper, okay? And then as Matt was saying, you know, when you're reading something, especially if you're reading it back from a screen, our brains have a tendency to, when we read it back, especially if we're suffering from some kind of mental fatigue, but our brains will read back what we meant to say instead of what's actually on the paper. So if we do have typos, just, you know, fatigue may cause us to overlook those things. Okay, great point, great point. All right, and it really coincides with, you know, what we're going to talk about today. If you need the web address for the textbook again, it's right here. If you can see my mouse, you know, moving around up here, but it's just digital www.norton.com/Little Seagull. And remember, there's only 2 W's here. All right. And just get yourself signed in, and I'm going in our book, and I will be starting on page 10, writing processes. All right. And
page 2?
Page 10.
10?
Yep, writing processes. Did you swap your book out, Shamika?
Yeah, they emailed me and said I can send it. They sent me the right book finally.
Cool. Saved you about $60, huh? All right, cool. So writing processes. All right. Everyone's is sort of different, but I think most folks, and this is, I encourage students in English 1510 to follow the process and make it your own, if that makes sense. First thing we do when we get a writing prompt, or I'll ask you all, you can either put it in the chat or you can shout it out. When you get a writing prompt or a writing assignment, not for like a minor assignment, but for an essay, what's the first thing you do? You got a week to do a draft, right? What's the first thing you do? Don't even look at the book. Just think about your experiences in the past.
I'm gonna
Figuring out what
outline.
Yeah. How you gonna start talking about what you want to talk about?
make sure you have the right like first sentence to make sure you're grabbing the reader's attention.
Attention grabber. Okay.
Yeah.
I heard a few good things. I heard outline, right? I heard think about your attention grabber. I heard Shamika, you said get your ideas together. Okay. Is that what you said, Shamika?
Yeah.
Okay. Get your ideas together. All right. All of this is very important in the early stages of an essay. What are you going to say? You may have a topic now. What are you going to say about it? And then you can even take it back to our previous assignment. The summary, right, was pretty much cut and dry, you know, just putting the author's ideas in your own words. But now, when you put your response together, what are you going to say? Okay.
That's one thing I always have trouble with. Always, how do I start my paper? Because usually the attention grabber, it doesn't always work. I don't know, but like I just don't know how to start a paper if I'm going to be quite honest.
Okay. One strategy that helps me is I usually begin with like short quotes, right? It's like Martin Luther King once said, or you know, Albert Einstein once said, or whoever once said, and then the next couple sentences will just be me reflecting on that quote, but not too much. But it helps me transition into the topic of the paper. So Matt, I think one thing that could help you is just finding a short quote that's related to what you're writing about, right? And when I say short, I just mean like a sentence or two. And then you can say a few words about that quote and then go right into your topic. And by the time you do that, it'll be time for your thesis statement, and then your introduction is done. All right. Or maybe you can find some interesting statistic or some kind of statement that is controversial something that, because when you made that other point about attention grabbers and getting your ideas together, when you said you learned it in high school, something I was going to say to you was everything you learned in high school was a lie. But it's a statement like that that would require some explanation. And just like Shamika said, what? So maybe you begin with some statement that's going to make your reader say, what? What did you mean there?
Yeah, like Emily Dreyfus talking about vitamin C and stuff was a lie. It caught my attention.
See, yes. So, and then Matt, at the end of the day, think about what would catch your attention. Right? Try to put yourself in your reader's shoes. All right. And then a final strategy, Matt. There's no law that says you have to do your introduction first. Of course, in the final draft, you want to put it first, but in their first draft, do your body first. Okay? Do the body and then come back, and do your introduction. That's fine. All right. So there's more strategies that I can share with you once we actually start our first paper. But I think, just try to put yourself in your audience's shoes, or, think about some shocking statement. Okay. And just for the record, not everything you learn in high school is a lie. Just most of it.
There was a term for that, like for that thing I said. Always put the paper to the side. I forgot what it was called though.
Oh yeah, just call it resting, or just giving yourself a break. Okay. I need to do those things because I don't. Sometimes taking a break is just getting up, walking around. Okay.
Yeah, mental breaks. I do that.
Yeah, mental break. I'll tell you all this. When I have something quote unquote important to do or something to write, that's when I'm best at doing housework because I could just I guess it's sort of procrastination, but I trick myself because I'm doing something productive by cleaning the house. So it's just, I don't know, we all have our own processes. But I think no matter what our process is, it should begin with some form of getting your ideas together. Most of us, we're never without our phones. So, the notes, function in our phone is a great way of just jotting down ideas. All right. If you don't want to use your phone, just get, a little something to jot down ideas. And when I assign a paper, it's a good strategy to try to work on it a little bit every day. If your schedule permits, like I know some of us are slammed with our jobs and families and everything, but if you can, try to devote a little bit of time every day to working on your paper, as opposed to, oh man, it's Sunday night, I gotta crank everything out. All right, and sometimes we do say, yeah, I work best under pressure, but a lot of times we say that because we've only been allowed to work under pressure. All right, so, or we've only allowed ourselves to work under pressure. So, if you have time, take the time. All right, a little bit every day. All right, but our text gives us, brainstorming, just jotting down ideas. Free writing, something that I do in class sometimes, where you just give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you just write for that 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. Not really evaluating or assessing your ideas in that moment. All right. You're just going to go back and look at that. All right. And the key of free writing is just, and it's literally when it says when you say 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to set a timer. All right. And just right to the end, nonstop. And again, you're going to come back and evaluate those ideas because some of what you're writing, may not even be applicable to what you're doing, but it's almost guaranteed, like within that space of 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to come up with some usable ideas. All right. And then Liz told us outlines. Okay. There's one essay in here where the assignment or pre-writing assignment is an outline, but even when it's not assigned, outlines are great for helping you stay organized. You can pretty much do your entire paper with an outline, right? Meaning like you're getting your points together. And then when it's time to do your paper, now it's just about fleshing out the points that you've already made. outlines are great strategies. And I've seen students go from paper to paper. They do one paper, you know, it turned out all right, but the next paper I'll suggest like, hey, you know, why don't we work on an outline for this? And you know, the results are just that much better as far as being organized. So man, outlines are a great strategy. Okay, keeping a journal. I'm just skipping around a little bit. Starting some research. This is great, right? Maybe you have an interest in a topic, but you really don't know that much about it. That's fine. Okay, go learn more. All right. And this one is always in your best interest because when your reader sees your name on your paper, in their minds, you become the expert on whatever you're talking about. Whatever you're talking about, your reader has this expectation that okay, this writer is this writer knows this stuff, right? So it's always best, even if even if it's something that you know about, you know, try to do a little bit more research about it. All right, it's always in our best interest. And then I think now, even though Google isn't always our friend when it comes to research, and I'll show you why, I'll tell you why when we actually have to do some real research, but I think, you know, having our phones, where basically most of us have computers in our pockets, that we can look things up. So, you know, yeah, right? Look it up, man. Look it up. That phrase, look it up, it means different things depending on how old you are. Like when I was a kid, look it up meant like encyclopedia and dictionary and all that. All right. Now I just use the dictionary app on my phone. Much more convenient. All right. Now, okay. One of the first things you want to come up with in your paper after you have this idea of what you want to write about, you did some brainstorming, you got some ideas together. Now, what do you want to say about it? Okay. And when I say what do you want to say about it, think about when you write an essay. Ask yourself this question. What do I want my reader to take away from this essay? Meaning, if they don't get anything else from my essay, what's the idea that I want to convince them to accept? Right? Is it that, you know, like we were talking about last week, is it that, you know, tuition should be lower? Is it that, you know, people should stop drinking bottled water because it's bad for the environment? Right? Whatever you're thinking about. And I always, you know, when you're coming up with your thesis statement in the first draft, try to make it plain as day. Okay. Say your statement or your position or your idea as clear as possible. You can always go back and revise it. You can say it a little differently. You can add some modifiers. You can add some qualifiers, whatever. All right. You can go back and revise it, but get that key idea out there first. And again, say it as plain as day. So when I or anyone else asks you the question, hey, what's your paper about? Oh, you know, college tuition should be lower. Okay, cool. All right. Or, you know, the price of college is justified. You know, oh, here's a good one. Okay. K through 12 school should be 4 days a week, right? That's a good argument. Okay. Or it should be 7 days a week. All right. That would suck for me when I was a student, but I kind of like that idea as a parent. All right.
So, Mr. Norwood.
Yes.
Usually, I would write when I write an essay, the first rough draft. I just talk,
Yeah,
all the way until I get to like 3 pages. Is that a good thing? Because then I just run with that, and then I just turn it in like, all right, that's just the first rough draft, and then I know you'll come in and do your
I think as long as there's some direction there where we can look at this draft and say, hey, Shamika, you got some good ideas. Let's do some reorganization. We're going to keep most of what you have, but we're going to get rid of some things. And so, no, that's fine. That's fine. And it's really kind of leads into what I'm about to say. All right. Once you come up with your thesis statement and start that draft, just as Shamika said, get your ideas out. Okay. Get them out. Now, of course, you're going to try to write in a way that's as organized as possible at that time. All right. But again, the main focus of your rough draft is to get those ideas out. Okay. Because like I was saying, you can go back, you can organize them, you can cut, you can add, right? So rough, and that's, it kind of goes back to the video we watched about writing badly. And that's not to say that your rough drafts are going to be bad, but we just have to accept that this is not the finished product. The finished product is going to require more work. So you submit a draft, I give you some feedback, and then you start working on it again. Okay. So now, Shamika, if in the drafting process you just go to get your ideas out, that's cool. Okay, just get them out. All right, and that goes for anybody. And Matt, I remember you saying you were an overthinker. In your first draft, that's cool. Go with it, because then once you get a draft out, you and I can have that discussion. Well, what did you mean here? Or this is a great point, Matt, but maybe we can streamline it a little bit. All right, so rough drafts, we're kind of taking off, these shackles. All right, or this notion that my rough draft has to be my final draft, or here's what I find as an instructor. Most times students are a lot harder on themselves than I am, because I will conference with students and they're ready to throw the whole draft away. And it's like, no, this thing has potential. This thing has some great ideas. We just have to rework some of these ideas or, clarify. But now, rough draft, take that pressure off yourself. And that's not to say that you should just turn in any old thing and say, hey, I only came up with one line, but you said, write whatever you want. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that you have an idea in mind, but you're still working it out, right? You're still working it out. So yes, get your ideas out, man. Get your ideas out. All right. And Liz and others, if you are an outliner, okay, and I will show you some real live examples of outlines, but this is a good strategy. And I know many of us may be used to outlines with the capital letters and the Roman numerals and all that, but you can make an informal outline and really lay out your paper. Come up with your thesis statement. Okay, put that there. And now this is going to be how you support your thesis statement. All right. So if you're saying, K through 12 school should be 4 days, right, instead of a traditional 5 days, or maybe it should, be till 2 o'clock instead of 3, 4, whenever kids get out these days. All right. So now, why should it be 4 days? And now that's going to be your paper. So outlines, great for helping you get organized. Okay. Now you're putting that draft together. Okay. You got
Mr. Pugh.
Yes, sir.
I'm kind of confused about an assignment, not this, but you had in the assignment category summary response, and then you got some attachments, and then you got summary response 2. What's going on?
Oh, summary response 1 was last week. Summary response 2 is this week.
So last week, was it the essay for summary response?
Yes, the summary response essay and the discussion question were due at 10 o'clock today.
Okay, I did the discussions. So the summary experience, I did that today. I was a little bit.
Yeah, if you already got it in, that's all we needed for this week. The essay, the summary response essay, and the discussion question. And just to clarify a little bit, the summary response essay and the discussion question are two different things. You answer the discussion question in the discussion form on D2L, and right. The summary response essay is an essay that you write, based on that prompt.
Mm-hmm. I did that, but I was just a couple of minutes late.
No, we're cool, and we're actually going to do the same thing this week, just with a different article.
Okay.
I ended up submitting my summary response essay in both of those folders. I didn't know why it was 2 of them.
Me too.
Okay, they're two different things. And one thing that can help you all is if you're reading the message on D2L and something is like a blue hyperlink, you can click that and it'll take you right to the assignment.
Right. I noticed that.
Yeah, so yeah, just click on the hyperlinks and that takes you right to the assignment. But moving forward, the discussion forum and summaries, actually this week will be our last summary response essay. So we won't have this issue in the foreseeable future. But for this week, just know that there's two different things going on.
Yeah.
What about that
board.
paragraph exercise folder?
Yeah.
No, that's just a folder. I actually made that invisible. So, but no, don't worry about that. That wasn't anything.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, okay.
Mm-hmm.
About your drafts. All right. We haven't started a quote unquote official multi-draft essay yet, but we will soon. And when you're doing that, now this it's up to you. Okay, some of you do everything in one sitting, some of you write in spurts. I would say whatever's been achieving the results you want. Some folks, they sit down for a couple hours or for some time at their computer, or for a day or so or whatever, and they just bang out their rough draft. Whereas other people, they write for a little bit, take a break, maybe grab something to eat, and then go back to it. Okay. Whatever your process is. Our textbook tells us, and this is something I have to do, like writing in spurts. Like I was just saying, like I know my process, and I'm a person like I need breaks. All right, I need breaks. One thing that's bad business as a writer is if you're writing something on your computer, but you also have like 3 or 4 tabs open. So you're writing your paper, then you're going to Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and then you're going back into your paper. That's going to cause your writing to come out unfocused. All right, and trust me, your reader can tell if your writing is all over the place because you were distracted. So shut down your tabs, okay, and then focus. It's the same thing with music. If you are writing with music on, try to do like music with no words, like instrumental music. All right.
About not having tabs open for Instagram, but you have multiple tabs open for like a whole bunch, all 3 articles or other classes.
That could work, but I would just say, try to do one thing at a time. Okay. So if you are, doing a summary response, just have that one, that one article open.
Okay.
All right. And if you're, a person that, you check your social media a lot or you struggle with distraction, as I do sometimes. I'm not really a social media person, but my main distraction as far as the internet is YouTube. I could, you guys know YouTube. You watch one thing and then you look at the suggested videos, and then next thing you know, it's the next day. You haven't got anything done. All right.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, I know.
You only learn so much from watching documentary after documentary.
One would think that. All right.
My YouTube playlist is weird.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good method for overcoming distraction. It's called the Pomodoro method. You get a timer, right? You can even use your phone, or if you want to old school it, you can do a kitchen timer. If you are using your phone, just make sure your phone is face down and then you have the alarm set. But set a timer for 20 minutes and just work for that 20 minutes. 100% focused on the task at hand. Okay, you're not answering your phone. The people who live inside your phone, they'll just get back to you when they get back to you. You aren't, looking at multiple tabs, on the online. So for that 20 minutes, you're just working solid, and you'll surprise yourself with how much you get done. 20 minutes doesn't seem like a lot of time, but a focused 20 minutes, you will get a lot done. All right. Expect surprises, especially this is, concerning research oriented papers. Sometimes you have this viewpoint, but when you start doing your research, your viewpoint may shift, right? It's like, maybe a 5-day school week is what works best. okay, after revealing the research. All right. And then expect to write more. We're going to do at least 2 drafts in here, rough draft, final draft. You know, if we were face to face, we would do 3, whereas a rough draft, one that you would get feedback on from your peer, and then one that you would get feedback on from me. All right, but we're only going to do at least 2, rough draft, final draft. And then here's how we work in here. You submit a draft to me, I give you feedback, and then I place it right back in your assignment folder with my commentary on it. When we have to do that, I will show you all how to do it, and then I'll upload a video just to reinforce. But one thing that I encourage you to remember, okay, when you get a paper back from me or anybody else, you know, with feedback on there, when you revise, it's more than fixing. So don't just look at what has been drawn attention to in your paper and just say, hey, you know, I fixed everything, you know, I'm ready to submit my final draft. Go back over your own paper in the revision process. And it's almost like you're running yourself through a mental checklist. And I have this checklist in writing that I will give to you. You don't have to submit them, but I do want you to go through them. But, you know, look at your paper. Look at the opening, right? Look at your thesis statement. Look at the follow-up, you know, to your own thesis statement. All this you're going through on your own, all right? Again, you're putting yourself in your reader's shoes, all right? Because just as we're thinking critically, and I said this last week, just as we're thinking critically about other pieces of writing, our reader is thinking critically about ours, all right? So they're going to be checking this material. Well, did this person support their thesis statement, right? Did they have good reasons? Do they have evidence to back up their reasons? All right. So, or is the conclusion strong, right? So try to take yourself, you know, through all of that. You know, when doing your own paper. And this kind of leads us to the final couple stages of the writing process: revision, editing. 2 different processes, though. Revision and editing, 2 different processes. Don't lump them together. When you revise, you're thinking big ideas. You're thinking organization. You're thinking structure, right? And that even goes as far as like you're looking back at your paper after you've gotten your feedback and you're looking like, I like this paragraph, but maybe it would sound better, you know, if it was closer to the beginning of my essay. Or the same thing, you know, I really like this paragraph, but I think it would suit this paper better if it were closer to the end. Right? You know, I really like, this is a strong point that I made, but maybe I can develop it a bit further, meaning I can provide more evidence or more of an explanation. This is a good paragraph, but really doesn't fit what I'm talking about. So maybe I can get rid of it and possibly use it in another paper. All right. These are this is the process of revision. Notice I'm not talking about typos. I'm not talking about there, and there. I'm not talking about fragments, run-ons, or anything like that just yet. Because when you revise, big ideas, organization, content. That's what I meant to say. Content, organization. I mean, revision is all about adjusting your content. Okay. We're not polishing it yet. All right. So think about that, okay? Content, content, content. Now, when your paper, it's like, okay, it's organized in the way I want it to be. My structure is there. My thesis is fully supported. I really like the evidence that I'm using and where I place it. Now, okay, I'm almost done. Let me go over this thing with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that I don't have any typos, because here's the truth about typos and material and mistakes like that. They can distract your reader. Meaning you could be making these great points throughout your paper. You could be delivering some vital information that you're really invested in because you really care about this topic and you want your reader to hear it. But it's not going to make a difference if there's so many of these mistakes that your reader cannot. Meaning there's so many mistakes that's what your reader's focused on as opposed to the actual content of the essay. So when it's time to edit your paper, okay, really go through it thoroughly. Use Grammarly, right? Use spell check, or they don't even call it spell check anymore. I'm just old school. Go into the review tab on Microsoft Word. Hit that read aloud button on Microsoft Word. Have it read your paper back to you. You'll hear more things. And as Matt told us at the beginning of this discussion, give yourself that time to take a break from your paper. Okay? Take a break from it. Don't wait to the last minute. If you're following this process, it's going to prevent you from waiting to the last minute. And really, you know, if you have a week to do an assignment, make a schedule, right? Meaning, okay, I know I'm in class, you know, until 1 o'clock or whatever. Then I go to work. But when are you free? Because when I say planning, you're planning what you're going to write, like the what of it, but you're also planning the when of it. All right. Sometimes we can take this approach to say, you know, I just do it, you know, when I get to it. But as you'll find out, you know, well, as many of you already know, you know, as adults, you got mad responsibilities. So it's like, yeah, you know, I didn't plan to do my essay. I was going to do it when I got to it, but you know, things just kept coming up, you know, as things tend to do, you know, when you're living a life out here. So, you know, make a schedule and stick to it. All right. You all can't see, but if I turn my screen around, I just have a whiteboard where I just have to write things down. All right. That's the only way I get stuff done. I actually forgot what day it is though, man. I thought it was the 17th. It's actually the 15th. All right. So the rest of this material just wraps up with some proofreading and editing strategies. Make sure you go through those. So that's the process, my good people. It's brainstorming. It's coming up with that thesis statement, right? It's getting your ideas organized. It's putting a draft together. It's getting feedback on that draft, right? It's revising. And then it's editing and proofreading. And then you're ready to submit. Okay? Ready to submit. All right? Sounds like a lot, but the more we do this, the more we get comfortable with our own process, you know, the more, not necessarily the faster it'll be, but we'll just understand our process better. All right. And we can then move more efficiently. All right. Now, my good people, again, that material is on pages 10 to 16 in our textbook. And I'm just going to go back into the writing process module on D2L. If my D2L cooperates here. Okay. Patience. Some I have to learn. All right. There's just a couple assignments I want to lay on you all, and then I'll let you have at it for the day. There we go. All right. Now, all right, I want to switch to student view. I'm kind of scared to do that now with this thing taking so long. Waiting for cache. I need to clear my cache and free up some space on my computer. Yeah, this computer's been riding with me for a long time, and I think it's I don't know. I just need to free up some space, and I'll see if that works. All right, see a couple of y'all profile pics. We good? Those names and faces. You know, already knew Shamika from. Was that this summer or was that spring? You had music. Now that was winter term, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, man. It all runs together. Okay, now finally. Okay, there's a couple things on D2L that we are going to be accountable for next week. And remember, like I was saying when I was talking to Daryl and Shamika and others, there's 2 assignments. One, first we have to get in the right module. Okay, one. All right, in the writing process module, here's just a quick overview of the material we covered today. here's some stuff about some material about putting a thesis statement together. And this is the video we watched. This is just an interesting thing. The speaker on this, it's interesting, I'll say. All right, but here's our assignment. The directions are the same. It's another summary response essay, but now I want you to try to apply some of what we just learned, especially when you're putting your response together. All right, but the assignment, it's the same summary response. The only thing that's different is we're using a different article. All right, and you can just click on the response and it'll take you to the article. And then, okay, did my discussion question not add?
So can I ask a question real quick about our papers?
Absolutely, yes.
Or maybe just English teachers in general. Why do you guys like Times New Roman? Is it just because it's like one of the smallest fonts out there?
No, that's just this MLA stuff. That's what
because
the modern
12
language
times New Roman is equal to 11 Calibri or 10 Arial. I actually bothered to check.
No,
like 12 times New Roman is smaller than other fonts at 12.
No,
by a lot.
The
Oh, a lot of glasses.
I know, right? No, Times New Roman. It's just that's what the Modern Language Association agreed on. So
it's hard to read too. It's just I hate it. It's the worst font.
Me, since I'm getting a little older. Okay.
My paper that I turned in for this one isn't quite 2 pages.
Okay.
Because I wrote it out to 2.5 pages in Arial on Google Docs, transferred it over.
Oh yeah.
And it came out as almost a 2/3 of a page shorter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, screw it, I'm done.
If you're going to use Arial, which is my personal favorite font, but if you're going to use Arial, use an 11 font.
I transferred it over to 12 times New Roman, but
yeah. I don't know, man. I used to be part of the MLA, but I stopped sending them my $50 a month, so they kicked me out. All right. Your discussion question, I'm going to go ahead and add that right now. Sometimes I add things for one class and I think I'm adding it for all my classes. All right. So there will be a discussion question. Discussion question is just about the writing process. All right. Ooh, man, my computer. It always does this at the end. All right, here we go. I just have to make it visible. Okay. All right. So I will go ahead. All of this is going to be in the recap I will post. I'm also at the end of this call or at the end of this meeting, I will, it takes about maybe 30 minutes to convert and get, not 30 minutes, but the process to convert it and then for me to get it uploaded on YouTube takes a minute. So once that's done, I'll make sure I upload it. But in the discussion forum, okay, these are the questions you are to reply to. How do you think academic writing differs from the writing we do every day, right? And our everyday writing is social media updates, text messages, grocery lists if you write one. All right, things of that, even journal entries. All right, because typically when we write in a journal, it's for our eyes only. All right, so think about that, and then in your own words, what's a thesis statement? In your own words, you can look back at some of the material, of course, but it's important that you put things in your own words. All right, and then what are at least 2 brainstorming strategies that you have used or plan to use? Okay, and then. What's the difference between revision and editing?
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
By academic writing, do you mean the kind of writing we're doing in this class or the kind of writing that I read for fun on JSTOR?
That's a good question. Okay.
Because the kind of writing that we do in class is academic writing, but it's vastly different than publishing a paper on a scientific theory.
Yeah, the tone has to be different. But I would say this. They're the same in this respect. both if you're writing for a class or if you're publishing for an academic journal, still have to follow some type of format, right? And
yes, but my class doesn't have to be peer reviewed, or I hope it doesn't.
Not yet. If we were face to face, it did, but you know, we're like that gets too messy if we try to do
I meant by never mind.
Oh, you mean by other historians?
Yeah, so if I was to write a history paper, it'd have to be not only peer reviewed by other historians, but by experts in the field, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to have to do that in school.
Matthew, that's coming for you. In the future, your phrase is going to be publish or perish.
I mean, to be fair, when you actually, you'll notice some history aspects in my paper that
that's fine.
Did get carried over because I somehow managed to combine Chicago and MLA citation style.
You made your own thing. But no, if there's some carryover, I encourage people after our first essay, which I kind of give you something to write about. The rest of it, you're going to be writing about whatever you want. Oh, I know what I got to ask. Within certain guidelines. But no, I want people to write about what you have an interest in. Okay. And now,
hey, brother.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Norwood.
Uh-huh.
You know, on the cited page.
Yes.
And I wrote mine in. I typed mine in.
That's fine.
It was easy for me.
Okay. Just make sure you start a new page.
Is the first question asking academically our class is writing for an essay? How's it different from like writing Facebook or something like that?
Yeah. What's different about the writing you would do in a class, or as Matthew said, for a publication? What's different about that? Than sending a text or something like that. All right. So now, kind souls. All right. Let me just link our discussion question to our. There's a third assignment. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, while that's working. Now, this assignment, pay very special attention because this assignment is not on D2L. It is in Inquisitive. Inquisitive, again, is the software or the online support that is associated with our textbook. So to access this assignment, you're going to need to log back into your textbook. All right. And once you're in, you just click Inquisitive for Writers, which I'll show you in a minute if my computer wants to. My computer's not people.
I did the first assignment Inquisitive.
This is the second one because we did the editing the errors that matter.
Okay.
But this is the first one that's the first one counted, but I just did a pass fail for that one. Okay. But this one actually has a point total. All right.
Okay.
And the way Inquisitive works, and I'm sure you all figured it out, but you have to answer a minimum amount of questions before you can move on. This one is only you have to answer 10 questions, and then you can keep going or you're done. All right. So here it is, sentence fragments. But when you log into your Inquisitive, it's all you'll see. It'll just be highlighted or have that gold. All right. So sentence fragments is our assignment in Inquisitive, and I will in the message I leave on D2L, I will recap everything. So again, just to clarify, there are 3 assignments for next week. One of them is a discussion question that has to be answered in the discussion forum on D2L.
Gotcha.
Okay. The second is a summary response. That's the same as what we did last week. The only difference is there's a new article, right? And then our third assignment, you have to go to Inquisitive, meaning log into your textbook and complete that one. So there's 3 things, 2 on D2L and 1 in Inquisitive. And again, I will recap all of this on D2L. And, if there's further confusion, you can just rewatch, right? You can watch when I get our class uploaded. All right. You can or you can wait to the end of the semester and just binge watch every week. No, don't do that.
So the new summary response.
There's so many questions that you got to answer, right? But when
you have to answer 10, but you can just keep going, but you have to answer at least 10 to get a score. Once you answer your 10, it automatically. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, that was a good question because I was trying to figure out if you once it grades you, do you still keep going?
No, you can keep going, or you can just exit out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Once it tells you that your score has been recorded, you can just exit.
Okay.
All right.
I got it. Because I was going up to 800, trying to get 800 all the time.
Right.
Okay, you can. You need to change your wager. Okay.
Oh.
But a new summary
some
response.
points.
I'm sorry.
But a new summary response essay. I mean, yeah, is this gonna be an essay on a new article, and does it go into the summary response folder or the summary response essay folder?
Yes, you can use the same folder.
Oh.
You can use the same folder. And I'm actually going to, there should only be one summary response essay. But if there's multiple ones, I'll get rid of one and just keep the one that we're supposed to have. But I thought I hid most of them this morning. But I'll go back and double check.
Okay.
Long essay. And then tomorrow, you all can't remove your assignments from your assignment folders, but a couple of folks said they uploaded the wrong thing. You can go ahead and upload the right thing, and I just I take the one with the latest date on there. So if you need to just upload your summary response essay again, go ahead and get that in. All right.
Got you.
All right. Any other thoughts or questions for me? I'm about to stop the recording.
Nope.
All right. And here's the reality of college, my good people. All right. Let me stop recording real quick.